I want to hear more about your forward fund and your new fund. But before that, Gary, can you tell us in the stock market, the AI boom, this AI narrative took over, the seven magnificent seven has gone up. We're now seeing that narrative spread to the other 493 companies. This AI narrative is real. Most people think this is bigger than the internet. It's going to improve productivity and it will show up in earnings for some people think the end of this year for many companies. Do you think that Tesla is being viewed as an AI company? Do you think that there's more of that might come? What's your thinking about the AI?
So I had this debate without going into his name, but somebody I respect who's a Tesla Q person, and his bold claim was that the reason Tesla is up 130% this year is because of AI. But this same person said that the reason Tesla was up 740% in 2020 was because the money supply went through the roof as the Fed was trying to bring us out of recession, which we know is not true. There was a halo effect in 2020 and 2021 due to the Model Y. And I think the reason I think Tesla has done so well this year is because people say gross margins are going to bottom in the second quarter, and you're going to get CyberTruck in the third quarter, and FSD continues to get better and better, and you're going to have a Model 3 refresh, and you've got all these charging agreements coming in. I don't think it has that much to do with AI because AI is not a big, as we just went through, it's still not a big number. And so when I build FSD into my models, I take what I think is a good take rate. I'm assuming a take rate of 10 to 12%. As I go out a couple of years, I multiply that times 15,000 for half of it, and I multiply it times $199 a month for the other half, and I build that into my EV numbers. I don't come up with a separate FSD line. And what Alexander was giving me a hard time about, which is fair, is I don't build in a robo-taxi P&L at all. And if it happens, that's great. But if it doesn't happen, I don't want to have to take it out. And so I guess the way I'm looking at it is AI is a factor. You can't deny it that when NVIDIA basically said we're going to do 11 billion in revenue instead of 7, Tesla went up dramatically on that day. And so you got to accept that AI is a factor. And after the May 16th annual meeting, and you saw all those robots, people believe it. People believe that they could take all the learnings from FSD and from Dojo and apply it to bots as well. But again, until you have a TAM and an estimate of how much share Tesla can take of the robotics market, it's hard for me to build some number in there. So I just don't think from a percentage of revenues or a percentage of profits, it's going to be a big deal versus EVs. I think it's something to consider. But to put an AI multiple on Tesla, which on my numbers for next year, it's 51 times, PE is 51, I can justify a 51 PE based on 37% earnings growth that I get just in the EV business. And remember, for my 2030 estimates, I'm assuming that we have 10 million of Tesla units, which would make Tesla the biggest car company in the world. It'll pass Toyota. If the global SAR is 80 million, that's what, 12.5% share? That's bigger than what Toyota is. So I don't think I need robots or bots, to justify a 51 PE. So I don't think that really reflects that much of an AI part of the business, and that's my view of as an institution.
That's great.
Which is a real good silver lining. Which is a great silver lining, because if analysts and Wall Street doesn't filter in AI into the Tesla price, we have the whole upside. I mean, we know it's coming, or at least we all believe it's coming, and quicker than we all think. I mean, we've seen yesterday the job offer in Sparks, right? You want to bring that in, Herbert? My gosh, we're so coordinated, Herbert. That's it today. So that's the line lead for the Tesla bot in Nevada. And the job description that was with it was very precise. There we go. Was very precise in what this position is for, and it is for now. It's a full-time position for now. So this may be still months or even short years out, but they're building up a team. While I do believe initially everything was handmade in Fremont, this is now the first step to industrial manufacturing of the bots in Sparks, and so this is coming. May not be there in 2024 yet, but I think 2025, you can reserve a line in your in your analysis, Gary.
Exactly.
How come it doesn't, wait a minute, how come it doesn't bother you, Alexandra, that Elon's been predicting that the Tesla will drive itself since 2019, every year.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, you know,
Can I explain
2024, maybe that'll happen. And I'm accepting that Tesla will get there because it does, again, the Cook's Corner stop sign incident notwithstanding, I think it will get there. I just think that other people will get there too. And maybe I'm wrong about that. So how do you justify that, you know, they've been saying FSD will be self-driving, fully autonomous, level 4 since 2019. And here we are 4 years, 5 years later, and we're still not there yet. How do you reconcile that with your bot in 2025 forecast?
Can I don't know. I don't want the show to be on this. We need a whole long show. I'm trying to keep it short.
I know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So you do understand, and I know you do. I don't want to say it in a certain way, you know, that this is not heuristically coded software, right? It was. Now they've moved it to software 2.0, which is neural nets. This neural net is learning on its own. Right?
I get that.
Okay. So if it was coded software, then it's very linear, right? There's code. Whenever you see this, act this way. When you see that, act this way. And then they're going to knock it out one feature at a time. And that's what people think when I'm driving my FSD beta and I press my disengagement. Now the fleet knows, now they're going to fix that phone, okay? Now what we're doing is switching over to neural networks. This is a system that's learning on its own. So when every year, so first of all, just to be super clear, when Elon started saying that FSD will be solved, when he started saying that in 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018, those years he was referring to autopilot on highway. And he was correct. By 2018, autopilot on highway, most of us believe that it's pretty good. It's solved. We are very happy with autopilot on highway. Then he did, I agree, give it to you, robotaxi, using those words, million miles. By the end of this year, he started saying 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. So people are tired of him saying that. The reason he says that is because you've got this neural net and you think that it's going to learn on its own and the exponential curve will rise up to the fact that it will just solve it. So this is how this works, right? It's very slow. And then all of a sudden, the system figures everything out and all the features will be solved very quickly in a month. Okay, if you go back to how Go was beaten by DeepMind's AlphaGo, initially they let the software neural net watch all these human players play, and then they taught it how human players played, and then it learned how to beat the best player. Then what they did was they built a new version of it where it was all neural nets, where they didn't teach it anything. They didn't tell anything. They just said, here's the goal of Go, and what the system did was just played against each other. And of course, they can do a million miles in that. Within days, it was way past humans. And it happens like this. It's like slow, and then all of a sudden, boom, it gets it, and then it's taken care of. So that's why he thinks. And then he says, well, he didn't realize that each neural net that they created, there was a rate limiting step that it hit, a threshold that it couldn't get past, which means they'd have to rebuild the neural nets all over again. And whenever you hear that FSD version 11, version 12 is rolled out, there's always 2 steps backwards because it's like a baby, right? You just launch a brand new baby, you erase all its memory, and it goes back out and needs to relearn things on its own. And that's why people don't understand. Why is it regressing? Didn't we already teach it? The stop sign? How come it can't recognize that stop sign anymore? And so don't be confused whenever you hear this one-off things that, oh, it still can't do stop signs. It's still making those issues because didn't they already solve that years ago? And that's this. And then, so if you watch this video, please watch the Ashok video and the Paul Dewan video that just came out. And the best way to do is watch John Gibbs, Dr. Know-It-All, because he took those videos and he will stop and explain it to people like me to understand this. Yeah. And you will see now that the system can actually now, exactly, it's all together, including the Dojo supercomputer. And then here's the kicker. When he was asked, Ashok was asked by the Q&A session, when is this going to be in customers' hands? He paused for a long time. He himself says, I think it might actually happen by the end of this year. So it's one thing when you hear Elon say it. It's another thing when you hear the engineers say, I actually think, now, when this happens, if you see this thing, it is predicting, it's not just predicting the lines, the street lines, but everything's capturing everything. But now we can create it like a video game. So I don't know if you know this, but you can go into Tesla supercomputer and say, show me San Francisco. And you can basically go like street map, like can go to any alley, but it's like a video game. It's all been recreated precisely to the millimeter, to the centimeter, trees, signs, mailboxes. It's got it because of all the cars that's ever driven through it. And then because they have that created, they're able to now play it like large language model, right? The ChatGPT model, the way that works is that, you feed it all the words and then it predicts the next best word that should show up and then it creates sentences for you. That's what this is now able to do. It's able to take all that, recreate as a game, as a simulated, reconstructed game, and then predict the future of what can it do. So, anyway,
let me maybe add. Let me please add something, because you brought up Crook's Corner, right? And I spent obviously last 10 days of my life on that stupid situation. So that happened on that Thursday. We knew about it on the Saturday. By Sunday, it drove up there. And by Sunday, all the Teslas that came up here and helped me and had the same version made the same error. By Monday afternoon, the ones that were still here, none of them did anything differently. By Monday afternoon, the situation was much better. And then by Tuesday, it was solved. And since then, people that had similar stop signs all over America find them to be solved. When you explain that to people, that a situation was created, got some focus, and it wasn't somebody just now in the headquarters saying, okay, now you have to slow down, because this whole solution suddenly applies to stop sign in completely other regions of America, because that's how the system works. So we're really getting very close. And I understand that people are getting impatient and say, oh my gosh, it's been promised for 8 years or 6 years or 4 years or whatever. It will never happen. Well, that's typically how technology works. When nobody believes it will happen, then suddenly it will happen. So I do really think people that have FSD and want to try it, and I invite you, Gary, I know you're coming to California next month. Let's do Crook's Corner and you'll see how it works.
I'm sure it's solved. I have a bigger question. So hardware 4, you've got 4.5 million Teslas using hardware 3, and now you got hardware 4 with 2 extra cameras and a high-def radar. So everything you just said, Herbert, does it have to have hardware 4 in order to work? And what happens with hardware 3?
Yeah, so he did confirm. No, but Elon did confirm that there's no upgrade path for hardware 3, but he also confirmed that you will be able to do full self-driving with hardware 3. My suspicion will be that there will be restrictions on how that would work. It might, they might just say it only from, I don't know. It might be a little, like, it might not be able to, if it did it, it won't do any of the complex, unprotected left turns or something like that. It'll find a different way, a different path. I'm not sure how that would work, but
will it work? Will it work the same as the hardware 4 package? That's my question, because you got 4.5 million cars out there with hardware 3. So what do? You say those cars aren't going to be as good as anything with hardware 4? That just seems.
Well, I think it's at the margin. It's hardware 3 will have a slightly lower safety, 99.99 whatever %, than
so it'll still be level 4. It'll still be level 4 autonomy.
But that's the objective. I think so. Yes.
But is that true? Is that going to be a true statement?
I do not know.
Well, do I know whether it's true? I don't know.
Okay, well, that's something we should find out. It's an important question. Because I don't know.
Who's going to ask it at the earnings call? So the question is, should Elon be there? We're back there.